Penny stopped in her tracks. No, she decided. He would still be there in a few hours. He didn't have a knife or anything else that he could use to saw his way out. And, she figured, if he had any special alien powers that would help with escape, he would have used them to subdue her or her sisters and get away earlier. It made a sort of sense to a woman desperately hoping for logic to work in her favor. She continued back home and didn't have time to react when one of the settlement patrolmen appeared in front of her like he'd just teleported there. He hadn't, and Penny knew that she had to start paying more attention, or she was going to get caught and strung up for aiding an enemy. "What are you doing out here so late, Penny?" Braxton, a citizen roughly her own age, asked. He was tall, with pale skin and floppy blonde hair that would look more at place on a beach than in the middle of a verdant wood. He'd joined the settlement 4 years ago and quickly made friends with many of the men. Though he was always scrupulously polite, Penny didn't like the way he looked at her. There was a calculating glint in his eye, and every time he tried to get closer to her, she got the sneaking suspicion he was doing it to earn her father's approval. But it wasn't like he was the only one, so she didn't hold that too heavily against him. "You're on patrol?" she asked, a bit obtusely. He lived on the other side of the settlement and was openly carrying a rifle. Of course he was on patrol. There was a blip on one of the sensors. It showed a disturbance by the river a few hours ago. You haven't seen anything, have you? He didn't seem suspicious, but her heart hammered in her chest, and she had to fight the urge to look back towards the shed and make sure that nothing seemed out of place. What if Krayter decided to yell for help? They were too close. If he was loud enough, they'd hear him. Penny quashed that worry down and locked it in a deep, dark hole with all her other monsters. She kept her face pleasant and body loose. Calm, she projected at Braxton. "I'm completely calm and normal." "I haven't been down by the river lately," she responded casually. "But nothing's been stranger than anything else tonight." Braxton seemed to accept that. He leaned against one of the towering oaks and relaxed his hold on his weapon, keeping it pointed at the ground. "Yeah," he said. "I doubt it was anything. They just patched the system, and that always throws these dumb errors. But I drew the short straw, so here I am." "Aw, that's too bad." Something pulled on her attention, dragging her focus behind her and off past the shed, almost like she could hear something, but not quite. Several twigs snapped, loud as gunshots in the quiet night. Braxton's head shot up, and he straightened, stepping away from the tree and clutching his gun. "What was that?" "Probably a deer or something. I thought I saw some scampering around earlier." It wasn't Krayter. He was tied up and he couldn't get out. Twigs snapped in the forest all the time. Braxton eyed her and looked back towards the shed. "I think I should still take a look. Wouldn't want that blip to turn out to be an interloper." He paused for a moment, eyes locked on hers as if he knew she was hiding something. So Penny shrugged. "Suit yourself. I'm headed back home." She took a step, brushing past him. Braxton caught her arm, stopping her. "You never said why you were out here." That awareness moved behind her, circling around the side of the shed. Her anxiety spiked, and she knew she had to move, had to get Braxton out of here. She looked down at his hand. It barely rested on the sleeve of her sweater, but she didn't like the weight. Still, Penny raised her own hand and set it on top of his own. "My sisters were messing around. I needed to clean up. Time got away from me. You know how it is." She met his eyes with a guileless smile. Braxton glanced over her shoulder before looking down. Then he grinned. "Those two troublemakers making you miserable?" he asked. He didn't let go of her, but the tension eased out of him. "You're not meeting a guy out here, are you?" he teased, but there was an edge to it. Krayter's teal face appeared in her mind's eye before Penny could try to banish it. "Don't be silly," she said. "You know my dad would kill any man who laid hands on me, no matter if I wanted him or not."